You know about the allegations. You've heard about the trials. But the King of Pop's life was filled with controversies that go far beyond the headlines. Business betrayals, media manipulation, self-destructive choices, and secrets that reveal just how complicated Michael Jackson's story really was. Hit that subscribe button because we're diving into 8 more Michael Jackson controversies that might just change how you see the legend. Controversy 1. The Beatles' catalog betrayal. In the early 80s, Paul McCartney gave Michael Jackson some friendly advice. If you want to make real money in music, invest in song publishing. Paul was explaining how owning the rights to songs, not just performing them, was where the real wealth lived. He even showed Michael his own catalog investments. Michael listened carefully, and then he did something unforgivable. In 1985, the ATV Music Publishing catalog, which contained over 250 Beatles songs, went up for sale. Paul McCartney desperately wanted to buy it. These were his songs after all. But Michael Jackson outbid him, $47.5 million. He bought the catalog that contained Yesterday, Let It Be, Hey Jude, songs Paul had written. Paul was devastated. I actually told him how to do it, he said years later. And then he went and did it to me. Their friendship never recovered. Michael later claimed he didn't know how much it would hurt Paul, but that's hard to believe. You don't accidentally buy your friend's life's work. The Beatles catalog made Michael hundreds of millions over the years, but it cost him one of the few genuine friendships he had in the industry. Controversy 2. The oxygen chamber publicity stunt. Here's something most people don't know. Michael Jackson deliberately planted fake stories about himself in tabloids. The most famous? The oxygen chamber hoax. In 1986, a photo appeared showing Michael sleeping in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, supposedly to slow aging and live to 150 years old. The story was everywhere. Magazines, news shows, late-night comedy. People thought the tabloids were making up crazy stories about Wacko Jacko. But here's the truth. Michael Jackson's team created that story. They took the photo. They fed it to the National Enquirer. It was a deliberate publicity stunt to keep Michael in the headlines and maintain his mystique. Michael later admitted it. His manager Frank Dilio confirmed it. The whole thing was manufactured. But here's the irony that's almost tragic. Michael spent the rest of his life complaining that the media invented lies about him. He positioned himself as a victim of tabloid culture. Except he created that culture. He taught the tabloids that made up Michael Jackson stories sold millions of copies. He weaponized fake news for publicity, then acted shocked when it turned against him. Michael Jackson invented his own monster, and then he got devoured by it. Controversy 3. The Pepsi burn cover-up. January 27th, 1984. Michael Jackson was filming a Pepsi commercial at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. A pyrotechnic effect went wrong. Sparks ignited his hair. Michael's scalp caught fire. He suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns. The footage shows him continuing to dance for a few seconds before realizing what happened. Security rushed him off stage. He was hospitalized. Pepsi paid Michael $1.5 million in a settlement. Michael donated it to charity and used the incident to build his humanitarian image. The media covered the donation, not the severity of the burns. But here's what almost nobody talks about. That accident was the beginning of Michael Jackson's addiction to painkillers. The burns left him with chronic pain and scarring. Doctors prescribed powerful pain medications, Demerol, morphine, sedatives. Michael, who'd never dealt with serious injury before, became dependent. Over the years, the dependency grew. More prescriptions, more doctors, more pills. The painkiller addiction that eventually contributed to his death in 2009, it started with a Pepsi commercial gone wrong in 1984. Pepsi minimized the incident. Michael hid the extent of his injuries. The media moved on, but that fire burned for 25 years, and ultimately, it consumed him. Controversy 4. The Martin Bashir documentary Betrayal. In 2003, British journalist Martin Bashir spent 8 months filming a documentary with Michael Jackson called Living with Michael Jackson. During filming, Bashir was friendly, sympathetic, encouraging. He told Michael he wanted to show the real person behind the tabloid stories. Michael trusted him. Big mistake. When the documentary aired, Bashir had edited it to make Michael look like a predator. Every innocent moment was framed suspiciously. Every explanation was cut to sound incriminating. The worst moment, Michael admitted he let children sleep in his bed. meaning his bedroom, which was a two-story suite, while he sometimes slept on the floor. Michael explained it as providing a safe, comfortable space for sick children from his charity work. Bashir's editing made it sound like something sinister. Michael held hands with a young cancer survivor named Gavin Arvizo during the interview. In context, it was compassionate. In Bashir's cut, it looked inappropriate. That documentary directly led to the 2003 criminal investigation. The Arvizo family, featured in the doc, became the accusers in the 2005 trial. Michael tried to release his own unedited footage, showing Bashir's friendly behavior during filming, but it was too late. The damage was done. Martin Bashir later apologized, sort of. He admitted the documentary was unfair, but defended his journalism. Michael Jackson trusted the wrong person, and it nearly destroyed what was left of his reputation. Controversy 5. The Neverland Zoo. Neverland Ranch wasn't just a house. It was a 2,700-acre fantasy world with amusement park rides, a movie theater, and a private zoo. The zoo housed elephants, giraffes, exotic birds, reptiles, and most famously, Bubbles the chimpanzee. Michael bought Bubbles in the early 80s for reportedly $65,000. Bubbles lived with Michael, wore matching outfits, attended recording sessions, even appeared in music videos. But as Bubbles matured, he became aggressive, as adult chimpanzees naturally do. By the early 2000s, Michael quietly moved Bubbles to an animal sanctuary in Florida. The other animals at Neverland faced questions too. Neighbors complained about noise and smell. Animal rights groups raised concerns about living conditions. Wild animals in enclosures designed for spectacle, not proper habitat. Reports suggested some animals weren't receiving adequate veterinary care. When Neverland was eventually abandoned after the 2005 trial, there were questions about what happened to the animals. Maintaining the zoo cost an estimated $2 to $5 million annually, money Michael increasingly didn't have. PETA and other animal welfare organizations criticized the zoo for years, arguing that exotic animals shouldn't be private pets. Regardless of how much money you spend, Michael saw the zoo as bringing joy to sick children who visited Neverland. Critics saw it as rich guy excess with animals paying the price. Either way, it was another example of Michael's Peter Pan fantasy creating real-world consequences. Controversy 6. The Joseph Jackson abuse. Joe Jackson turned his sons into the most successful group in Motown history. He also abused them physically and psychologically in ways that scarred them for life. Michael spoke openly about his father's abuse in interview. Joe beat the kids with belts, electrical cords, whatever was nearby. He'd hold rehearsals where mistakes meant punishment. Michael described being so terrified of his father that he'd vomit before Joe came home. The famous Jackson 5 dance moves, perfected through fear. Joe's defense was always the same. I had to be strict. Look how successful they became. But here's the question nobody could answer. Did the abuse create the genius, or did the genius survive despite the abuse? Michael never forgave his father. When Joe had a stroke in 2015, Michael's estate didn't help financially. When Joe died in 2018, he wasn't mentioned in Michael's will, deliberately excluded. The relationship between Michael's otherworldly talent and his childhood trauma is impossible to separate. The perfectionism that made Thriller also made him unable to see himself clearly in the mirror. Joe Jackson made millions off his children's talent. He created superstars. He also created damaged human beings who spent their lives in therapy trying to undo what he did. Michael Jackson became the king of pop, but he never escaped being Joe Jackson's terrified son. Controversy 7. The financial collapse. At his peak, Michael Jackson was worth over $1 billion. By 2008, he was drowning in debt. How does that happen? Simple. Michael spent $30 to $50 million per year, while earning far less after the scandals destroyed his touring and recording income. Neverland's maintenance alone cost millions annually. Staff, animals, utilities, the amusement park. It was bleeding money. After the 2005 trial, Michael abandoned it, but still had to pay for upkeep. In 2008, Neverland went into foreclosure. Michael was about to lose his fantasy kingdom to the bank. He owed an estimated $400 to $500 million to various creditors. He'd taken loans against his Sony Chewed ATV music catalog, the same Beatles songs he'd bought from Paul McCartney. Eventually, he had to sell 50% of that catalog just to stay afloat. The thing that was supposed to secure his financial future became a bargaining chip to avoid complete ruin. Michael took loans from wealthy Middle Eastern royals and businessmen. The terms of those arrangements were never made public, but reports suggested they came with expectations. Performances, appearances, favors. The King of Pop had become financially dependent on people he barely knew. By 2009, Michael was desperate for income, which is why he agreed to something he probably shouldn't have: 50 concerts in London, at age 50, in declining health. He needed the money too badly to say no. Controversy 8, the This Is It Death Tour. In March 2009, Michael Jackson announced a 10-show residency at London's O2 Arena called This Is It. Within hours, the shows expanded to 50 concerts due to demand. 50 shows. For a 50-year-old man who hadn't toured in years and was dealing with serious health issues, Michael claimed he was excited. Behind the scenes, people were worried. Rehearsal footage later released in the This Is It documentary shows Michael looking thin, sometimes disoriented, clearly not in peak physical condition. But director Kenny Ortega insisted Michael was ready and enthusiastic. Here's where it gets controversial. Did AEG Live, the concert promoter, push Michael into a schedule he couldn't handle because they needed the money? Did Michael agree because his financial situation was so desperate he had no choice? And most damning, was Dr. Conrad Murray hired specifically because Michael needed someone who would give him whatever drugs necessary to sleep, wake up, and perform, regardless of medical ethics? Michael died on June 25, 2009, from acute propofol intoxication. Murray was administering surgical anesthesia in a bedroom to help Michael sleep. After Michael's death, his family sued AEG Live, claiming they pressured Michael and negligently hired Murray. AEG won the case, but questions remain. The This Is It movie, assembled from rehearsal footage, made nearly $300 million. Michael was more profitable dead than he'd been in years alive. Was This Is It a comeback or a death sentence? We'll never know for sure. But Michael Jackson agreed to 50 shows he probably couldn't complete, and he died before the first one. 8 more controversies. 8 more layers to the most complicated legacy in music history. From betraying Paul McCartney to being betrayed by Martin Bashir. From creating his own fake news to financial ruin. From childhood abuse that created genius to a final tour that might have killed him. Michael Jackson was a victim and a manipulator, a genius and a tragedy, an icon and a cautionary tale. He gave us Thriller and the Moonwalk. He also left us with questions that may never have answers. If this changed how you see the King of Pop, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're uncovering the real stories behind every music legend. Which controversy shocked you most? Drop it in the comments below. Thanks for watching Version Vault. We'll see you in the next one.